Hello, welcome to Klepp's Garage. Hey, I'm your host Bruce. In today's edition, we have featuring a 1967 Olds 98. Remember when the commercials come out and said, "This is not your grandfather's Oldsmobile"? Well, this was my grandfather's Oldsmobile, sporting a whole 70,000 miles on it from original. This baby is a leftover original patina. I don't even have any patina yet. It's still got the original paint on it. Still got some shine to it. And black vinyl top still in good shape. This is a great survivor. And so we're going to take a look at this one today. I think we'll just start out. We'll just kind of go around the car. I got it over here on my good side of the shop, which is actually the, I guess the museum side. I don't know. Anyhow, this is the four-door sedan, top of the line for '67. My grandfather retired that year. And he bought himself a new car, traveled with it extensively, went up through Canada, sightseeing with it, and then he passed away in 1982. I've been the caretaker of it, and it's just a good old car. See when we get the back in there. I got to walk clear back to the back of my building here to get into the whole car in. A big car. It's about 18 foot long. Yeah, we'll start here. I might as well look under the hood, see what's underneath there. All right, got the hood open. First thing you might notice is this is a clean machine. And this thing's clean. Try to keep it that way, too. Like I said, it's got 70,000, I think 400 miles on it. All original. I don't even know if I've ever changed that radiator hose. I kind of think that's still original. Thing still runs and drives like a new one. And don't see any point in changing anything because everything's still working good. It's got the 425 Super Rocket engine. And then they come out in '68 with the 455. This is the 425. And it says to use premium fuel only. And I think that's right there. Use premium fuel only. Ultra high compression. Probably 10 to 1, 11 to 1, somewhere in there. I know one thing. Today's fuels, even the high octane, 91, 93 octane, still had to set the timing back a hair because it wants to knock a little bit. So not as good as it was back in the 60s, that's for sure. It does have a double master cylinder. It's kind of handy in case you blow a brake line. You still got brakes. Got the old style power steering pump or reservoir. And then it's even got the old style GM alternator with a separate regulator, which the regulator's back there. But just a nice overall car. One of the interesting facts is this little gadget here. I think you can see it, that round thing with the wires going to it. That is hooked up to the throttle, and that is also hooked up to the torque converter of the transmission. This car has what's known as a switch pitch torque converter. That's a new one. That was a new one on me. I didn't even know about that until, I don't know, back in the 90s. Somebody was telling me about that. Anyhow, it has some sort of a magnetic torque converter that goes into lockup like the modern cars do, but they didn't have a lockup torque converter in the 60s. This one does. And you definitely can feel it kicking in and out. And it's really, I think it was designed for towing. If you're towing a trailer, that's what it was designed for. But it really is something different, that's for sure. What I like about it is all the old markings, like the old Frigidaire air compressor here. It still has the official final test from Olds. It is okay. Got some more numbers over here on the alternator, stamped on there. And the suction throttle valve for the air conditioning. Numbers are still there. Still got all the original hoses. I think the heater hoses, I think they're still original, but don't hold me to that. But I've never heard of that brand of heater hose, and they're red. Red hadn't been out for a long time. But everything still works on the car. Said it runs and drives just down the road just great. Quiet, smooth, almost too quiet. Lots of power. I've got this same cubic inch motor in a 78 Eldorado with a 425, but it is so detuned compared to this thing. This is like a drag strip motor compared to that thing. But anyhow, this one's got adequate power. It's very adequate. Even the little hood light still works. I usually leave that unplugged just because if I got the hood open, I don't need that on. And you can't see anything at nighttime anyhow. I don't really know what the purpose that is, although the distributor is down there, and it is a points distributor. So maybe they thought you could adjust the points if you needed to when you was out on the side of the road, but I don't think I'd want to do that. But what do I know? There's something else interesting. My grandfather used to do this. He'd always pull a dipstick out, and it'd have, I don't know, 500,000 miles on it. He'd say, look at that. He says the oil is still golden brown color, not black. And it's still that way today. It's unbelievable that this car would have stay that clean, but must not be any blow-by past the rings. But every time I pull that dipstick out, it looks that way. Maybe it goes into some fresh oil, and I don't know that. Anyhow, there you go. Another interesting thing, this is the speedometer cable coming out. It actually goes down to the front wheel. So the speedometer is driven off the hub of the front wheel. If you pull the dust cap off behind the hubcap, there's a little metal insert in there that the speedometer cable hooks into. So the mileage and the speedometer is all driven off this left front wheel, not through the transmission. I found that was interesting. I took the front wheels off one time just to check the brakes and everything, and I thought, wow, that's weird. There's a speedometer cable. So that's a little quirk with this model car. Okay, I'm going to start with the back seat just because it's really neat back here for a Luxo barge, the LS version Luxury Sedan. Anyhow, you have of course, you have your cigarette lighters everywhere. Here's one for the back seat and the ashtray, which has probably never been used. Electric windows, no electric door locks. Anyhow, you have your handle assist to get in and out of the car, your full-sized armrest, plenty of room on the back shelf to put stuffed animals or whatever you want to put back there. And at my favorite part of the car here, the vanity section. So if you're traveling, and usually the men are in the front and the women are in the back, and they want to, primp and make sure that they look good for where they're going. So you have a lighted mirror at nighttime, not during the day. Anyhow, you have a mirror that tilts, and then you have, we still have the original wet ones in here. I think, Kleenex is on this side, wet ones on this side. Apparently this one's been changed. But anyhow, I guess they fit better that way. So anyhow, you have your wet ones over there. What if they say Oldsmobile on them? No, but it does say made in the USA. That's interesting. Anyhow, and the Kleenex is on that side. So you have your travel pack back here. It's all concealed so that you wouldn't want to see that or anything. But I always thought that was a neat function. Going up to the dash. Dash is pretty neat. It's this big square thing, and you got your big front seat with the armrest. So basically, your living room sofa is what you have. And this car has got an aftermarket waste paper basket or a waste can. You see the gray over there on the side. I'll show you that in a minute. That's not factory, but anyhow, something my grandfather put in. So anyhow, and the standard compass, he put that in. Got to have a compass, see where you're going. So anyhow, you got tilt telescoping wheel. Like I said, electric windows. Got cable operated mirror to adjust that. Electric seat that's adjusted on the door, and then crank vents. So when you start this car up, we'll start this up. There's a little light comes on and tells you it's cold, and you probably should wait before you leave till the light goes out. Let's see this. So I got it fired up, and there is the little cold light. Now you don't want to take this on a road trip anywhere until that little light goes out, because why, God forbid, you wouldn't want the motor to be warmed up. So anyhow, or turn your heater on. So there's your little cold warning light. It also has some other idiot lights, the generator light, brake light, and oil light, and hot lights down there, along with fuel gauge. And there's the speedometer, conservative, 120 mile an hour. I'm sure it would do that. And the clock. Well, you might notice a pattern here. All my cars are set on 5 o'clock. and the AM radio. I believe FM was just coming out in cars, and that was probably an option, but grandfather said, all that newfangled stuff, that ain't going to be around very long. I don't need an FM radio. And then in the glove box, kind of neat, it's got a vacuum operated trunk release. Tell you a little story about that. When I was a kid, I opened that up one time. Grandpa told me to shut the garage door, and I thought the garage door opener was in there, and I seen all them buttons there, and so what do these buttons do? And I pushed them. We're going down the alley, and of course the trunk flew open, and he just looked at me. He's like, that opens the trunk. I said, I did not know that. So to this day, I find it thoroughly amusing that it opens the trunk. So there you can see the trunk is now open. I'll have to manually shut it. Alrighty, since I got the trunk open, I might as well show you what's in the trunk. There's the safety flare or safety reflectors that came with, well, it didn't come with the car. Grandpa put them in there, but that was something that was in there. I pretty much kept everything as it was, the way he drove it. So back in the day, there's his fishing pole and his tackle box and his little box of goodies, flashlight, gloves. There's a little baking soda fire extinguisher in the back, turtle wax top dressing, and this is kind of neat. Luster seal, haze cream. I guess that was a wax back in the day. What's this? Electrical tape. Must have needed a lot of electrical tape back then. There's a whole can of it. See, I don't even know what's in here. I haven't looked through this in a while. Anyhow, it's lots of neat stuff. Here's a triptych from AAA. They used to do that back in the day to show you how to get where you're going. So there's one, and there's a map of the United States. Oh, there's grandfather and grandmother right now. Kind of a handsome pair there. Hard to see here in this. This was actually their wedding picture. And a couple magazines from 1967, Life magazine, and then the Automotive News. And then a set of spare belts. Grandpa always kept a set of spare belts in here, and I never really knew why until one day back in, well, I think it was in the 80s, I was driving this, went down to a town south of us, got on the interstate. As I was getting on the interstate, I floored it, and all of a sudden I lost my power steering. The alternator light come on. It wasn't very long. The temp light come on. I stopped and got out. Sure enough, I had thrown all the belts off, just shredded them. They was probably a little bit on the old side anyhow, and they just couldn't handle that torque of that motor. But anyhow, I always kept another set. I guess I did put a new set of belts on. There's the an old set that was in here. That was his extra set. So yeah, just the trunk, jacking instructions, little paper thing still on there, and then your spare tire arrangement, storage, and how to put it on there. Electric antenna still works. Makes a lot of racket. But anyhow, so yeah, there's the trunk. I think we'll get it out and run it here a little bit, take it for a ride, and see what she sounds like, what she looks like going down the road. One other thing I'll show you before we pull this thing out and take it for a drive. So these little gray mats here, grandfather put in when the car was brand stinking new to keep from scuffing the carpet. So as you can see, the carpet's like brand new because nobody's ever really stepped on it before. So we'll just keep them covered up nice and neat, just like that, just like grandfather kept them. And maybe they'll last for another 50 years. Who knows? Well, let's fire this thing up and we'll take it for a drive. See if my cold light's still on. Oh, the cold light went out. I guess we can go for a drive now. We'll pull it out and go for a little spin. Well, that's going to do it for this episode on Klep's Garage on the 67 Olds. Remember to like and subscribe and drive them if you got them. We'll see you next time.